have our open the floor to people who have stuff they want to announce and talk about, and then once we've got through all the people who have pre-told us that they have stuff to talk about, I'll open the floor one at a time to everyone. Tell us what you're doing or what you're not doing, or what's been a success or what has been a enormous failure. I've got a lot of those these days. So yeah, I'll just say g'day.
Good day.
Who have we got? Who have we got first? Peter. Yeah, on site. You've muted yourself, Peter. But you know.
I'm back.
Yeah.
We have no particular order. Who do we have? Let's see. Peter Phillips. How you doing, Peter?
All right. I can go. Just an update. I guess last time, if people weren't here, we were talking about a Cobalt for the Model 16 that wasn't running on the emulator. And after a bunch of work, I'd found that the 68000 halt instruction wasn't implemented properly and fixed that. And it was still running flakily, which is where I left off last month. And we dug into it. It's interesting that this Cobalt is built using a virtual machine of some kind, like USCD Pascal, but a different invention. So we're able to put some logging messages in and see where the virtual machine was running. And you could see backtracking when the error message came out, you could see which virtual instruction was running. And fishing around in that, we actually found 2 more 68000 instructions that weren't implemented properly. It doesn't come up in Xenix. I think almost everything in Xenix goes through the C compiler, and the C compiler doesn't really use the full 68000. So one of them was the ST instruction, which I couldn't remember what it was, but it's for set true. And for some reason I misread it and thought that set true was, it set the value to 1, but in fact it set it to 255. So fixing that, Cobalt ran a little bit better, but still was kind of flaky. And digging around, we finally found the second one, which was test and set, which is, I guess, normally supposed to be atomic or something, but I don't know why they did this, but I guess they wanted to use a different bit. So test and set would set just the high bit in the register. And in that case, it was a matter of, I'd interpreted it as a test instruction. So I was setting the bit, but then I wasn't telling it to write it back. So there was no side effect. So after that, it was running pretty well. The only thing left was to figure out what was going around with the disk status, that for some reason, we weren't handling the type 1 status properly. And I'm not sure exactly how I screwed this up, but I misread the way that the reset commands are supposed to work. And I don't think it comes up in like the Model 3 or the Model 1, because the only time really that reset starts to matter is when you want to read multiple blocks, which makes sense on the Model 16 or the Model 2, which has DMA. So you can tell the controller, read a bunch of disk blocks and it will stream them in, and the Z80 doesn't have to wait for anything. But you do have to get it right that when you've got the data you want to reset the controller and then check the bits to see that there was no error in the process. And I'd gotten that kind of messed up. So that's all fixed and it seems to run. Haven't tried to format a hard drive or anything. That's a project for another day, I think. But it seems not unlikely that something more will come up. But so the next version should be able to get your Cobalt stuff going on the emulator.
I got so many ideas.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Can I just welcome Don Bannister? It's the first time he's joined us from the UK. He was an original member of the UK Tandy group, And I'm also hoping that Laurie Shields will make an appearance later on. I think he's worried about falling asleep. But yeah, it's hello, Don. Nice to see you again. I think it's about 40 years since we've met in face-to-face, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's bring him on. Hey, Don, how you going?
Hi, I'm going really well. Thank you. This is an interesting discovery. I haven't thought TRS-80 thoughts in many years. This all came up because I made an inquiry in the UK group, part of which still exists, about a box I found when I was clearing out a house, which obviously connected to a TRS-80, but I can't for the life of me think what it actually was. I have some pictures of it maybe at some stage when it suits. I could show them and see if anyone has any ideas, although I suspect it's probably a UK only thing. But nice to see you all. Nice to see the old Tandy still alive in the form.
So why don't you give us your, in 25 words or less, history in computers?
My father used to run a small estate agency in Belfast. I'm from Northern Ireland. And he used to send out demands which were printed with addressograph plates. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're little metal plates, a bit like the sort of thing you used to be able to make on a railway station platform to put your name on. And it got to a point where every time there was a change to be made, they had to go to a company to do it. And he said, this is costing 10 shillings a time, which was a lot of money then. So he said to me, do you think we could computerize this? So I thought, yeah, maybe. And there was a choice between a Commodore or a TRS-80, and it just happened to be there was a fairly local Tandy shop. Bought a Model 1, connected the cassette recorder to it, concluded that wasn't going to be any good, and quite quickly we were on to the expansion interface and disk bit. And I wrote a package for him, and then we went out and bought a fancy printer, and several agents later on said, oh, where'd you get this from? But we ran it for years, and in fact, I'm still running it with the same data, but it's gone through about 6 different machines since. So that was my story. Then I got a bit involved in hardware and assembler, and turned up at one of the UK meets with an EEPROM programmer, which caused quite a lot of interest, particularly when people wanted to customize character sets in an Epson MX80 printer. So that's it. A bit longer than 30 seconds, sorry.
That's all good. Yeah, when the bug bites, when the bug bit back in the 80s and we all joined the computer clubs or the computer user groups, that was a real golden years of TRS-80 usage, but we're slowly bringing it back. So thanks for that, Don. If you've got anything you want to say during the talk today, just put your hand up and I'll defer to you.
Great.
All right. So who else we got? Paul Burrell. Have you got something you're working on? You're muted, Paul.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
So I know I've been promising this to a lot of people, but I'm finally done and doing final testing. But this is the new 8 meg memory card and the new micro MMU card. So to give you an idea of how small these things are, this replaces 8 of the 1 meg memory cards that goes in the TRS-80s.
Nice.
So and it's powered off of one lead coming off of this connector, which don't have a connector, I had a wire on it. And anyway, it is going to work across all 3 flavors of the CPU boards. The 6 megahertz long, the 8 megahertz, or the 8 megahertz short, and the 6 megahertz short. In fact, one thing that I had to make sure I took into account for is on the long cards, we've got the cutout that everybody remembers about. You can kind of see that this just sits right up, and so this can be fully mounted into one of these boards without a problem. And then for most of you who have seen posted, this was one of the raw boards I did for one of the repros for the original Tandy 2-bit MMU. This is a revised version, reduced logic, supports 3-bit MMU and drops straight in. I almost could have made it the same size of the CPU, but it wasn't that critical. So doing some final testing on these. Ken's going to be helping out with some of that. I'm shipping some to Ken, and Bobby is going to be helping out with some of that too. So anyway, so hope to have those out soon and go from there.
So both of those daughter boards will plug into any 68K CPU board?
Correct. And what it is, I don't know if you can see it. Pull this off. There's a header here. Let me get to the right side of it. Those are strappable option headers. So there'll be different configurations for different board that adjust different timing aspects and different idiosyncrasies of the board. It's going to support the through the socket modification that Tandy did with the I think it's 3 connections or 4 connections that go up through the socket. And then, so there'll be no wires going to the cart except for the power. And I'm going to probably offer a couple of options there for those who don't feel comfortable soldering. I'll probably create something that'll go in line with the hard drive or with the floppy drive. So you can just plug it in. It'll be an extra cost. And for those who feel comfortable soldering, it's just a single 1-wire slip-on, one of those test wires for prototyping. So it'll slip on. I'll provide that in the kit of appropriate length and tend. So that's the thought at this point.
So just for the benefit of those who don't know what an MMU board does on those systems, can you kind of give a very layperson explanation of what it is?
So for the 68K cards, the MMU card allows for protection and in the upper past 1 meg. When Tandy originally did the design, they have an MMU on the lower 1 meg, thinking that, hey, it's 640K like MS-DOS. Who needs more than 640K? Well, who needs more than a megabyte? Well, down the road, it ended up they needed it. And, memory cards got a little denser. Instead of the 256K cards, they went to the 1 meg. And then I think there's a stackable 2 meg that Peter ran into recently. I don't think I've seen any more stacked any higher than that. So what it does is in Xenix, the MMU is designed to look for rogue programs accessing outside of user space. So there's a supervisor and a user space in memory. And if you're running a user program and you access outside of that, it generates an interrupt to the processor and causes a appropriate action by the operating system. So really what it came down to is Tandy did a half job on it. And in order to get the 8 megs of memory, which is the full that 3.3 Xenix supports, you have to extend it 3 bits. And there was a Tandy one that I think there's a few select people. Bobby's got one, Peter's got one, and they shipped one to Rocket Fuel. His old machine had one that he got back. So there's a very limited number of these that are around. Ken's released one that's called the XMMU. It's an alternative as well. We both kind of were working on it simultaneously. I was going for a little different configuration option that Ken was working on. So so that's the purpose behind the MMU and a little bit of history about it.
Thanks. So just the last question I got: do the memory cards remain in the
No.
So
you actually, so you'll take a lot of stress off your power supply as well, because this thing draws like about 200 milliwatts compared to a couple of watts per each board. So you basically, where the CPU card was, there's two cables that plug in this connector here and this connector here. And it's really a 68K expansion bus. It's really not a memory bus. That's why there's this second signal. And there's a couple of signals that actually attach to the memory card to the short one, but are really not used. So decided to do away with that. Like I said, I wanted to create something small that, people who have broken memory cards and or want to expand up to full memory, you can just yank the old cards out of the system, plug in this new card, and it's ready to go.
And the system presumably has got to run a lot cooler as well without
yes, yeah, definitely so.
Hot memory cards in there. All right. That's great. Thanks for that, Paul.
Okay.
No need for the big old honking fan on the back of your Model 16B anymore.
Yep.
You can replace it with a modern, quieter one, Peter.
I don't have one anyway, so.
That's no fun. Huge news for for Tandy Xenix fans. The biggest news since the release of Xenix 3.3, probably the biggest hardware news since 1987. It's going to allow everyone to fully utilize the last release of Tandy Xenix to its full potential, and just about anybody can do it just by plugging these boards. So it's a big deal. Thanks, Paul, and everyone else who was involved.
Thanks. A lot of thanks to Bobby. Bobby did a lot of the research, and we collaborated over about a year. Unfortunately, work has been quite demanding over COVID for me. Otherwise, it'd have been out sooner. So.
Yeah, who said nothing good came out of 2020? 21.
Well, luckily there's new stuff. There's going to be a couple other pieces of hardware coming within the next couple of months, as I'm starting to get a little more time now. So hopefully I'll get on those and get those ready to see where they go.
Cheers, mate. Okay, Pete, you want to you got an update on Roundup?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about my game Roundup. So if you have been attending these calls, you'll remember a year ago, I think I first revealed Roundup, the game that I was working on, which is a clone of a popular Atari game called Stampede. And, 2020 being what it was, just a friggin' disaster in many ways, pretty much just a write-off for me. So not a lot got done, but lately I picked it back up. It was around 90% done, but as a lot of you who've developed games and software in general, that last 10% can take half the time to get right. It's all those little annoying bugs that you kind of saved, and because you didn't want to work on them because you knew they were going to be tough to finish to get the polished product done. And so I think I finally have it to the point where I'm considering it finished. So I want to give it a little demo, ask the community what they think. Is it ready to be released as a product? Should I add some more features? Should I not? And see what you think. So let me bring up the demo here. Give me a second. All right, so you can see that running in my trusty TRS-80 GP emulator.
Yep.
So if you're not familiar with the game is you are a cowboy or a wrangler, and you're riding a horse, and you're attempting to round up as many calves as possible. So hence the term roundup, and that's what the splash screen here depicts. At the same time you're trying to round up these calves, you have some obstacles that come your way, like skulls from long deceased cows or cattle, And then you also have some steer that kind of pop up for every once in a while, these full-grown steer, which will get in your way. And those obstacles will cause your horse to rear back and will prevent you from being able to lasso these calves. And you want to prevent the calves from passing by you. You get to allow 3 calves to pass you by you before the game ends. So we'll start the game. You can sort of get a flavor for it. So you're on the left, that's your horse. With your lasso on top, you're kind of ringing it around, and you can lasso up the calves. See that big one there? That's a steer. See, he doesn't move. He's just kind of coming at you, but you can lasso him too and get mega points. You can also kick the calves forward, and they'll kind of run forward and then start coming back to you again. So once the screen gets really heavily loaded with a lot of the calves, that becomes a strategy for succeeding in the game. So you'll be doing some lassoing, but you'll also be doing some pushing.
So if you have 2 calves behind each other, does it kick both, or does one hit the other and push?
No, they're completely independent.
Okay. One other thing I was just thinking about is, do you have different levels? I was wondering, you may have an expert or a beginner with a different size lasso. Might be an easy mod for you.
Interesting thought. Right now, what happens after every 5 calves, I add another one to the mix. So it becomes progressively more difficult. And the game speeds up. For each calf you catch, the game speeds up slightly incrementally each time. That's the skull right there that I mentioned. You don't want to hit the skull. I'll show you what happens if you hit a skull in a second here. So you can see the screen starting to get a little bit filled up here with calves. The game is starting to speed up just ever so slightly. Here's what happens if you hit a skull. And you can't do anything while your horse is rearing.
Are you using the keyboard for movement?
Right now I'm using the keyboard, but it does support the joystick.
Okay.
And if you get to every 1,000 points, you get an additional calf that can pass you. That indicator in the upper right with the asterisk shows you how many calves you can let kind of pass by you. I'll let one go by so you can see what happens there.
What was that big stationary one you lassoed?
That was a steer. So the steer's not moving. He's not intimidated by you. So he just stands there. But you don't want to run into him because your horse will rear back as well if you hit a steer.
Can you run into one of them to see how the horse rears?
Yep. Next time a skull comes through, I'll do it again. Here comes a skull.
You've clearly been practicing too much. Designer test, right?
He knows all the cheat codes.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it is. There's extra keys for Pete that tells it to do an auto kick of all calves.
Have you thought about adding sound routines so when you get a calf, it can make a noise?
Oh, it makes a little beep beep. What kind? You want like a calf writhing in pain? You can see it's starting to get a little faster now, a little more challenging.
Yeah.
So I still can work on some of the dynamics of the game, as how quickly it speeds up, how many calves show up on the screen, but I think it's a decent mix right now.
I think it's good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Some of them start getting faster.
Sound effects are great.
How many skulls are on the screen at one time, maximum?
Right now, only one skull and one steer at a time, but up to 30 calves if you can get that far. I've never gotten that far. That's a free calf I just got at 1,000 points. Every 1,000 points you'll get that, but I've only made it to 2,000 points once. Now it starts becoming mega.
Oh boy.
I think it's a great game.
I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
I think it's fine just the way it
Any
is.
more work at all, actually. It
Yeah.
I think it's ready to go, right?
yeah.
Yeah, time to contact the guys at Big Five and see if they'll distribute it for you.
Yeah.
It's not Big 5 anymore. It's Big 10.
The feet on the calves are just so realistic and mesmerizing.
I know, just a few pixels, right? But you really
Yeah.
can tell, hey, that's a cat.
Yeah, the graphics look really smooth and
Yeah.
It took a lot of work to get those skulls and those steers to be smooth like that, to move pixel at a time.
yeah, I'll bet.
They're ASCII characters, graphics characters, but I can't move them a character at a time. It looks too blocky. So I actually have to move them a pixel at a time. So I have multiple versions of each of those sprites.
Do you have the end game code disabled right now?
It just keeps getting harder until you can't do anymore.
Oh, okay. I thought you let 3 get by you.
I thought about adding a nuke option where you just blow up all the calves, but
Barbecue time.
it's actually one of my better games.
Wait, yeah.
No.
How about a space alien that comes down that says PSKI on it as a tip of the hat to what's that Big 5 game? One of them has
Supernova.
guy's initials in it.
Supernova has asteroids that are designed that way.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about. Thank you, Ira.
But I wonder if a flagship can fly across and just kill you randomly.
I thought about adding a wolf in the mix somehow. Wolf would sort of chase the calves, but I don't know. Maybe next version.
Maybe a tornado.
You need
Flying
some kind of bandit that would come out and shoot you.
You know, I'm really adamant this time. If you remember when I did Breakdown, I wanted to create the retro packaging with the retro instructions and actually release it on a real cassette. And I'm adamant that I'm going to do it this time with this game. So I'm already trying to procure the cassettes and the labels, and I'm actually going to sell it as a true retro game. I'm also going to give it the binaries away for free, but for people who want the real, full experience, I'll sell that at a
I like it.
moderate price.
You should send it to Adrian Black and see if he'll run it on his channel.
I don't know who that is.
He's kind of like the 8-bit guy, but he does more repair work type stuff. But occasionally he'll do something like this where he's demoing a game or something, and he's got a lot of followers.
I'll give it a shot.
Peter, how does time work? Do you use the interrupt on the Model 3, or are you just a tight loop?
Just the game loop. Yep.
Got it.
With different delay counters for the different artifacts in the game. Yeah.
What's this coded in?
It's Z80 assembly.
How many lines of code?
I can tell you right now. I have it all in one file. It's 2,618 lines.
Well, Pete, there you go. If you buy it, you get commented source code.
Well, source code. Anyway.
No,
it'd be more than
commented
that,
source
actually.
code. Fully commented.
That means I'll have to go in and actually polish up the code and add comments and.
Well, you're a programmer. You can comment it as you went.
I do have a lot of Z80. You have to comment or you'll get lost, right? If you guys have done Z80, if you don't comment Z80 thoroughly, you will not know what's going on. It's not like a modern programming language like I do Java in my daily job, and I write my Java code to be, self-documenting, self-describing, using long variable names and method names that describe what it does. So I have very few comments in my Java code. But something like Z80, you have to have comments on almost every line, or you'll forget what you did.
So Pete, did you have do you have your own sprite library? I mean, would it be easier now to do a similar game that moves stuff around the screen, or is it specifically for this game that what you wrote?
No, I just store the ASCII characters in memory, and I just have different versions of them. And then I just, for animation purposes, I just have a counter that moves like each iteration through the game loop. I'll iterate this animation counter to look at a different version of the sprite, and then just recycle them over and over. So nothing fancy.
That's good. Thanks for that, Pete.
Sure.
Coming to a eBay store near you or something?
Probably.
Maybe next time around you can give us a an update on how the packaging's coming along. Have you got the mock-ups yet, or are you still...
I do have the mock-ups. I'll show it. I showed it last time, but some of you may have not have seen it. Let me just get that for you. Let's see. All right, let me share this.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then I'm thinking I'm going to write the instructions in dot matrix font to make it look like I printed it on a line 1 printer. That'd be
Very
fun.
nice.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds good. But as far as packaging, I meant, are you going to go for the kind of Radio Shack hanging baggy look, or the Coco square, program pack?
Oh yeah, definitely the baggy. I'm gonna get a
Okay.
box of Ziploc bags and print these out, put them in, put a cassette in,
Just loose in the bottom, like the good old days.
just like the early Model 1 games. Yep.
I see a screen printer behind you. What if you ran the manual off the screen printer?
Then no one will be able to read it.
Well, not after 2 weeks, but for those first 2 weeks.
Good one, Ira. Cool.
Yeah, it'll
Okay.
turn black. It'll turn black during shipment when it gets on a hot one.
So have you been coding this actually on a Model 3 or Model 4? Have you been doing it on an emulator?
No, I've writing it on my MacBook Pro using a modern editor, and then using George Phillips's ZMac to assemble. And all my testing has been in TRS-80 GP, using its great debugger features lately. I don't use the debugger a lot, but like I said, for that last 10%, the debugging features in TRS-80 GP have been a godsend and have really helped me iron out all those final bugs. So thank you to Peter and George for continuing to refine that product. It's been really helpful.
Second that.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks for that update, Pete. All right, so what I'm going to do now is if anyone's got anything they want to announce, they need to shout out their name, and I'll defer to you. Dusty, you're muted.
No, okay, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Just a quickie. Just to let you know that the next TRS 8-bit will be out hopefully next weekend or just after, depending how things go. And as it's the start of our 15th year, I can't believe it, but it is. I'm just having a new feature, which I'm trying to highlight a bit more assembler, either from the day or modern stuff. I'm hoping to get some of these assembler programmers out there to send in a few bits and contributions, but that's the idea behind it anyway. Okay.
Yeah, while we're talking about TRS 8-bit, we're still up in the air about what to theme this year's competition with, and so I had some ideas, but they're like my twisted sense of humor. They lack taste. So at the moment, Dusty and I are all ears. So if anyone has an idea, send them through. Otherwise, I'm just going to put some ideas on a dartboard and pick one that way. So you got a week to tell me what you think a great idea for a programming competition will be. Okay, thanks, Dusty. Who's next? If no one puts their hands up, then I'll just go around the table and see what everyone's doing. Perfect. Timothy Halloran. G'day.
G'day. let me unmute here. I don't have a whole lot. I've been actually restoring a VT100, but one announcement I had is that someone on Facebook, which was kind of fun for me, a Troy Tuttle actually did the V-blank mod in a Model 1. I had published that in Dusty's TRS-80, but probably beginning of the year, but having someone actually do it. So I'm going to send him a sticker. I've got about 1,000 stickers. So if anyone has actually done the V-blank mod, which is a way to detect when vertical blanking begins or starts or ends, we demoed it at the last Tandy assembly. Let me know. There's probably 3 programs in the world that take advantage of this hardware mod. So the best being George has a great bouncing ball demo that runs on a Model 1. So it's kind of worth it for that.
Well, like they say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with 3 apps. So.
Just with one, yep.
I was just reading about it today. It's a pretty easy mod. I was thinking about doing it myself.
Yeah, and if you demo Model 1s, like George's demo is worth having it because it's pretty impressive on a Model 1 to see the bouncing ball demo. It's pretty cool that it can do that.
Tim, can we see that sticker? Can you hold it up to the camera? I'm just curious.
I don't know if you'll be able to make it out. Let me try to get it to focus. But it explains, it's just one of the, like, you know, the keyboard mod sticker that's stuck on the bottom of the Model 1. It was sort of an example of that kind of thing. And it explains what you would do in assembly language. So if you forgot how the mod works, you can read this and go, oh, now I remember how to do it.
Very cool.
That's great. Thanks, Tim. Ira, howdy.
Hello.
You're muted. Hey. What's the latest on the website?
Been scanning a whole bunch of books. We've got a benefactor that prefers to be nameless that loves to buy stuff off of eBay and Amazon and have it drop shipped to me to scan. So
well, that's kind of good.
So at least that's been going, and finally got a decent set of discs to read that have allowed me to send a few samples to Quentin. I've been using his Catweasel re-release and haven't run into any problems. And each problem I've raised to him wasn't really a problem on his part, it was a problem on mine. So kudos to him for his work. And other than that, just post things as I find them.
What's the most interesting thing you've scanned in the last month?
Some books in French on VisiCalc and all of that. Never expected to see that.
I didn't know you were multilingual.
And there was this cute book. I think I posted on the Discord at least one of the pages that was talking about the Tandy 1000, but it similarly had interesting things to say about the Model 2 and the Model 4. It's like a complete guide to used computers from back in the day.
Yeah.
And it listed a whole bunch of computers I had never heard of. And I had thought I had known all of them, but kind of an interesting little book.
I'm the only know-it-all when it comes to vintage computers. You know that. Thanks, Ira. Good on you, mate. Okay. John Diaz. You have the floor, John. How you going?
Yeah, this is my first time here. I didn't expect to have to share.
We give everyone equal time if they want equal time. So thanks for joining us for your first time. Anyway, tell us the story.
Yeah, well, I kind of fell into this a few years ago. I'd actually had a Model 3 laying around for years and never did anything with it, and then I decided, 2 or 3 years ago to start, collecting and repairing and restoring and so forth. And so kind of got into it. And this group here has really been the funnest group to be a part of. You can see I've got a lot of different stuff that I collect back there, but really been grateful for the support with all of you, all the people here. So happy to be here. Right now, I'm working on I assembled a pocket tris, so I'm hopefully close enough to, everything was S&B on that, so that was a little challenging to get assembled, but hopefully be able to test that soon. And then from a project standpoint, I'm actually trying my hand. I'm relearning BASIC. I hadn't touched BASIC in probably 3 decades or longer, and I have the TRS-80 module from Mike Wessel, and I put that together. It's really cool, and I noticed he's got some different features in there that I'm like, man, it'd be cool if he could use this as part of the program, obviously. So one of the features he's got in there, if you recall, is like Hal singing Daisy, and some different Hal quotes. So I'm trying to put together a little demo in BASIC that shows like the Hal console with the with the lettering and everything, and then we'll play some of those back, just kind of in a loop and update the screen with the different Hal consoles. So I'm not a programmer like Peter or a lot of you guys, but it's been fun and challenging to learn, and using the TRS GP TRS-80 GP emulator from George has been really helpful in that too. Anyway.
For that, John, where are you from exactly?
I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in the States. So yeah. And
okay.
Interesting. I actually so for a living, I work for a company, VMware. Some of you may be familiar with, and I work in marketing. But I realized that Tim Mann works there, and I was like, what? So we on the internal Slacks, we have there's a Vintage Computer Slack channel, and he wasn't in it for some reason. I invited him to it, and he's like, oh yeah, I hang out with those. The trash, trash talk guys and all. Yeah, I know all those guys. So that was pretty fun to, my brush with greatness, I guess.
It's definitely a group that doesn't have that Groucho Marx problem of like I wouldn't be a part of a group that would have me as a member. So
right, yeah.
we succeed in that department.
Yeah.
We are the coolest of the vintage computing community, I think.
That's right.
I definitely think so, man. You guys everybody here is like super cool, super helpful. Nobody's kind of a know-it-all grouch or anything like that. So
I can be.
Yeah, except for now.
Well, everybody has their moments.
But rather less infighting and locking of antlers than other vintage computer platforms.
We've killed off all of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. John, have you heard about Tandy Assembly?
Yeah, I recently learned about that and talked to my wife, and she's like, "Let's go." So soon, hopefully COVID. I just got my first vaccine shot yesterday. My wife and I both. So I'm excited. I've been going back and watching the old ones and things like that. So yeah, looking forward to going to that.
Yeah, they're pretty fun. Might just ask Peter, any updates on anything regarding Tandy Assembly?
It's scheduled to go. We're scheduled to go. First week in October? October 1st through 3rd, that weekend?
Yep. If enough of the population have a jab, then it'll probably go ahead, won't it?
From what I'm hearing, it sounds like we're going to be in good shape to have it. So again, cool. Make cancelable plans, but make plans.
Is the tech day going to go?
Yeah, we'll have the tech day if we're going to have it, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks to Qantas, they're not allowing any flights out of Australia until October 31st. So nice work, guys. Only going to miss it by 28 days, but
Well, somebody else is going to have a chance to win the trivia contest now.
No, it's not going to happen. I'll do it remotely.
I'm going to add latency to that line.
Yeah, I'll get Mike.
We can't
Rowan to send me a button.
Man, they have boats.
You can't do it. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
That's an interesting point, Peter. Are you planning on having like 2 or 3 Zoom kiosks or stuff, or remote? Because I'm pretty sure that wasn't done in previous ones, and now that we're all set up for it, maybe that's something we just plan for.
Well, we have our first planning meeting coming up in a week or two, so I will definitely broach the subject, and I'm sure it will come up. So we'll see.
Cool. All right. Thanks for that, Pete. Let's see who's Armadeep.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, mate.
Hey, Armadeep, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey, gosh, I've interacted with so many of you folks over the years. It's great to hear voices and see faces finally. Glad to be here. Not much going on. There's a backlog of projects. One of the ones that's been lingering for several years has been that keyboard firmware from the Model 2. And I'm finally getting around to building the rig to get that extracted. So we're going to have hopefully a good copy here soon. I have some sockets that are stuck somewhere in the mail postage system somewhere that when they show up, I'll be able to finish that board and then get that extracted, because I think it's MAME. Those folks had, they had somebody actually take the cap off of a chip and then photographically try to get the firmware out of it, which is interesting. But I do believe they had some problems running it afterwards, so there's probably some bit errors in there. I mean, that's what's currently going on. And I did speak a little bit with Ken about a project I want to do for the Model 2 a little bit later. Goes along a little bit with Eric's desire to have some bigger memory for the bank switching. So early stages, but we'll talk about that more as time goes on. But yeah, that's about it here from Central Indiana. Looking forward to Tandy Assembly. I missed it the last couple of times, but definitely going to make it this time.
Awesome. This is your first time on here, Armadeep?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, welcome. Hopefully the first of many.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Okay, Lawrence.
Hey, everyone.
Cool jacket, mate. Cool jacket. I wish I could find something like that.
Who's got a cool jacket?
You have, brother. Yeah.
Sure. I've been working on, so I think a couple months ago, I showed this web app that helps decode cassettes. And I've been working pretty closely with Quentin because he ended up with all of these cornsoft tapes, and some of them are pretty badly damaged. And so it's gotten a lot better, and it's pretty good now. It's been able to decode a lot of cassettes that it couldn't do a couple months ago. And so like he just sent me one yesterday, and I was able to get most of it decoded. So that's pretty good. And it's all available online. If I'll put the link in the chat. And then so you can
talk about the cassette stuff. So have you had a lot of have you had some good feedback about that?
Well, no one's using it other than Quentin, but I got it. He likes to use it in the command line format. So there's a lot of really good command line ways of using it where you can just throw a WAV file at it. It'll generate all the files and decode all the files and the basics and everything. And it'll generate like a JSON file with all of the details and all of the bit decoding errors and the checksum errors and stuff like that. And then so you could get a sense of how well the decoding went. So that's mostly how he uses it. But then whenever there's a problem, I use the user interface to sort of track down, like maybe, can I do a screen share for a second?
Go for it. The floor is yours.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, so this is a good example where, like, this is a cornsoft tape from a long time ago, and this is a good example where, like, this is a command line program. I mean, a system program, and this is the sync byte at the end of the header. So there's a bunch of zeros. And here it's supposed to be an A5 sync byte. And this recording just has two A5s in a row. And so that was breaking all the decoding. And it turns out, like, Quentin actually looked into the ROM, and it turned out that, yeah, the ROM handles this just fine. So, but it's kind of nice to see, like, okay, the signals are really clean and all the bits decode fine. And you can see this is the pre-processed stuff. And then up here, you can go and play it if you want to play the Space Invaders and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun if you have a tape and you're trying to figure out what's going on. The low speed decoding is, I think, quite good. The high speed decoding is mostly quite good. I think it is better than all the other ones that I've seen online, all the wave to CASs and stuff for high speed, especially for really pretty damaged tapes. But it's still, like, there's still some bits here and there that it will but it won't decode well. And so I'm going to keep working on that. But mostly what I've been working on is, let me turn this off. It's like, I think most of you are just hardware people, like you gather the real hardware, the real machine. And I'm not into collecting the real hardware. So I made this online web-based TRS-80. Let me share that one, because that's mostly what I've been, so it's like my-trs-80.com, and again, you can just go there right now, and you just get your own TRS-80, and then if you're here, I'll sign out. And if you're signed out, you can get all the retro store stuff from Arno, so you can download all of these programs and you can play them right in your browser. But then if you sign in, you can sign in with Google, and then you can upload your own tapes. Like here on my library, I've uploaded all of my old stuff from cassettes, programs that I found online, games and stuff like that. And it's just a pretty nice way to just store all of your programs, and then you can just play them right off 13 Ghosts and all these different things. And there's a way to search, like I can type Pete, for example, it'll show breakdown, and you can go in here and see all this stuff, and it'll show the disassembly, all the stuff that I had on my other program. If you want to play it, and then just run it if you want to do that. And then all these tags and everything that you can tag stuff, so you can say like, for example, I tag all my stuff with mine, and then, or say like I could type Pac-Man and see all my old Pac-Mans from when I was a kid. So if you just want to upload stuff and have sort of an easy way to get at everything, that's a pretty nice, just like your TRS-80 in the cloud, basically. And it supports floppy, including, like, you can see everything that's on the floppy, and you can import the individual programs and then just run them directly if you just want to run, like. So it's got a pretty good way of, like, parsing all of these data formats and getting at them and showing you how they work and breaking down all the sectors and everything. So if you're curious about what a file looks like with all different file formats, this is a pretty nice visual way of seeing all that stuff. And you're all welcome just to go there and create an account and start importing files.
This is awesome.
That is nice.
And you can share stuff too.
That's something that's needed.
So here,
a lot
for
of work's
example,
gone into it as well.
for breakdown, for example, you can toggle this to share. And if you share, then you can just share this URL, like here, I'll do that right now. Oh, I can't get back to the chat room when I'm sharing, but I'll post this later, and then if anybody goes there, can just, they don't even need an account, and they'll just start running the program directly, just like if they've done this. So it's nice if you want to just share a program with somebody, or this has happened a couple times already, where somebody online, like on Reddit or something, saying, oh, I remember this whole game, and I happen to have it, or I find it somewhere, and I get in, I press share, and I send them the link, and they can just, like, with one click, they can be playing it. Sports sound and floppy cassettes. Yeah, so, and I'm just having fun just implementing all this. And so if you play with it, and or you can take screenshots, so it's pretty easy to find stuff. Scarf Man. Yeah, so play with it, and if there's something that doesn't work or something you want it to do, I think it'd be fun eventually to support hard disks, so you could have like your permanent hard disk in the cloud. That everywhere you go, it'll be just there for you.
Can this run locally?
Scott Adams Adventures on there?
Say that again?
You have the Scott Adams Adventures on there?
No, it doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Yeah. This one?
No, that's not it.
That's not it, no.
Okay.
Yeah, no. No, it could have some more. So this is just the stuff I happen to import so far.
Yeah, it'll double the size of your web page if you start adding the Scott Adams stuff. Just giving you a heads up.
Somebody asked if it can run locally. Yeah, I mean, it's all open source, so you can just get the GitHub and just clone the repo and just run it locally. That's fine too.
Looks nice.
And it currently stores all your data in a Google Cloud account. So, and it's nice just to have all this stuff, and it's all full text search, and you can search for all this stuff. So it's like, for example, you can look for like asteroid clones, or all the different Pac-Man clones, including Starkman. So it's kind of fun way to look stuff up. And that's it. So I'll just keep working on that.
Very nice.
Question.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Oh, sorry. So there's one more thing that I can't resist showing you, because this is kind of fun. So, right. So in the old days, right, you're like, right. Right. So you're like, okay, well, that was wrong. And then you're like, then you have to like edit it, right? So I got tired of doing that. So I added this pencil icon, and it'll flip over and just turn you, it'll suck the program out of RAM and just dump you into text editor, right? And then you could like, then you could fix it. And then when you hit check, it like writes it back into RAM, right?
Wow.
And then
Nice.
And then
That's nice.
control enter just goes back and forth, so you can just like, and just keep going back and forth between editing a program and running it and back and forth. So that's kind of a fun thing. It'll support.
yeah.
There are various things you can support. Model 1. You can support the old Model 1 basic, level 1 and 2, different character sets. All these different things.
Can you export them to your own cloud then? Can you say a special save command to save it, upload it to your system, to your backend?
You mean after you edit the program?
Well, after you finish writing your program, can you then also then upload it?
No, well, right now, no, if you want, you just copy and paste the code if you want to save it. You can copy and paste it from the text editor. And you can change the phosphors and all these different things. But the, yeah, but that little editor was sort of the fun thing I want to show. I couldn't resist showing that.
How hard would it be to add other basics like LBasic?
Like I don't know what that looks like. Like a, you mean like when you boot into LDOS?
It's an enhanced basic that comes with LDOS. So if you're running a LDOS boot disk, it would just load LBasic.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, straight from that.
Might just work. I don't know. This is a live demo. This is always. Oh, I don't have LDOS in this one. Maybe this one.
Oh, so that editor is available in just in the emulator in general.
Yeah, well, it depends on whether it's able to like. So these LDOSs don't seem to have to have basic. But let's see. This TRS-80 might work. No, that doesn't work. So there's something different about the way that they store it. It's probably not very different, but I never thought to test that. So that I'll modify it. There's probably some stored some slightly different way in memory.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
that's fantastic, Lawrence. Good on you. I like your work, Dusty. We should put an advertisement for this web page in your paper. What do you think? Nods in agreement. Okay. So we're just about an hour in of a 2-hour podcast. So anyone else got anything they want to say? Speak.
I've been playing around with Fuzzix a little bit.
Go for it, George.
Yeah, Fuzzix is a sort of mini version of Unix that Alan Cox has been working on. It's meant for small micros. I think he started with the Z80, but it has ports to 6809 and other things. And it's supposed to run on the TRS-80, but it definitely has some problems that need to be worked out. I sent in a couple of small fixes involving the video pages on the Model 4, but it will boot on the emulator, and Peter and I fixed up a minor thing, so we'll boot on TRS-80 GP. But the program it has to read from the floppy disk just won't work on a real machine, so it needs to be rewritten. I've thought about doing that, but haven't got around to it yet. But it looks like a fair bit of fun to play with, sort of a mini version of Unix.
Does it do anything practical or useful, or is it just for academic purposes?
I guess I would say more academic at this point. If you build it, it compiles a lot. And it seems to have all manner of sort of, the standard Unix utilities and games and so on and so forth. And they plan to have it support TCP/IP. I don't think that's quite there yet. So, I mean, that would be a little more interesting to have, native support for the internet in something that could run on your TRS-80.
Nice. Good one, George. Okay. Quinton.
Oh,
How you
hey.
going, mate?
Yeah, sorry I was late this time. I didn't realize that the meeting got moved an hour earlier than last time we had an 8 p.m. slot for my
Neither
time
did
zone.
I got in by the skin of my teeth as well.
Oh, about the only thing I have is I managed to, with my grease weasel, I managed to get an enclosure 3D printed for it. I couldn't find one anywhere, an enclosure for it anywhere that I could buy it. But I did find someone's STL job that I could have 3D printed. And it makes a really nice little enclosure for it. It's coming through in the picture. There you go. I'll post the link to the STL files I used for it in the chat. And so far it works great. Makes a nice.
Well done. Well done. It still puts you in the minority of people who don't just have open circuit boards sitting on their. That's like the most of us do. We should. Hats off to people who can be bothered mounting stuff. All right. Thanks, Quentin. Who's next? John Rounceville. How's your chunk of junk Model 4 going?
Well, Patrick's going to be receiving my floppies pretty soon. He's going to try and align them. So yeah, I mean it's working. It's usable. I got
It gets a little bit better every time we talk to you. So
yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm going to need a new case at some point though, because I tried using epoxy to take all the little bits and pieces and gluing them back together. And
yeah,
not very sturdy that way. So I'm going to end up needing a new case.
What case do you have?
Jay Newworth, have you got a case there?
Yeah, I got 2 cases if he wants one.
Yeah, all right, you guys.
I got a non-Gatorade case and I got a Gatorade case.
Mine's a non-Gatorade.
All right, I got one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just send me
All right,
an email.
you guys can talk PM after this thing. Thanks for that, John.
Speaking of cases, Mav, I wanted to bring up a little subject here. Is that okay?
Knock yourself out.
Okay. So recently I had a TRS-80 rescue in Connecticut. And part of the rescue was there were a couple of Vox boxes in the boxes. Okay. And I've never seen 2 Vox boxes together. And I didn't realize until now that they are stackable. So they have an indentation at the top. You've all seen the Vox box and you've seen that indentation. But I bet many of you did not realize that they're made to stack.
Oh, wow.
And they fit in nicely. And I was just thinking, I don't know if this was intentional, if, Tandy Radar Shack was thinking this would be a good design if we come up with new accessories and they could just sort of stack them like Hayes modems, they were designed to stack that way. But I was thinking, for new project enclosures that we're working on, maybe we could make them Vox box compatible, the same style. And then, we could sort of stack them neatly next to our TRS-80. So just a thought.
It's probably completely incidental. Radio Shack had 10,000 of these boxes sitting there doing nothing. And shit. Oh, I swore. What are we going to do with these things?
Right? Why the guy had 2 Vox boxes, I have no idea. But
why would you want 2 Vox boxes at the same time? To have an argument?
Oh, no, you can only hold, 32 voice samples with one. So by having 2 of them, you can have 64 voice samples. It's simple. You get the whole alphabet in upper and lowercase. Thanks for that, Pete. Hey, Ken, what do you think of my idea that the shack had 1 million boxes lying around?
Yeah, I think that's a good one, Ian. It's yeah, and I like your tie. You're looking very Radio Shack corporate.
Yeah, I know. You've never seen.
I used to dress like that too, but
yeah.
Should I wear mine next time?
Last year at Tandy Assembly, or the year before at Tandy Assembly, it was bloody hot, and of course I didn't pack anything remotely suitable for warm weather, so I packed a 3-piece suit. So that was clever.
Well,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm representing the country when I'm traveling overseas. So always, in my Sunday best.
Good job. You're looking good today.
Thanks, mate. Hey, what have you been doing anyway?
Well, let's see what we're shipping out. John and I are shipping out keyboard adapters and keyboard adapter boards. And the Z180 board is going out. I think most of those are out now. And, I've got a few other things going on here, but we'll see how they turn out. I think Paul's boards are really cool. And I'm pretty excited to see those. And I've seen a lot of neat stuff today. Lawrence is doing some really cool stuff. So
yeah, there's a lot of good stuff coming out at the moment. Yeah,
I know there really is.
And
Almost
particularly for the 8-inch system.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Val.
Hi, Val.
Hey.
Hey.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that, Ken.
Okay. See you guys.
Kyle. Wadston.
Oh, I have
Cool
been
library.
always. I owe about 4 people on the screen here something, so I apologize. For that. You may or may not get it. So,
Where's my printer adapter?
Where's my printer at?
yeah, the printer adapter. I've been spending a ton of time on the front end, as Lawrence can attest to how much work that can be. When you're done, it looks fairly simple, but boy, I'm not a web guy, but I kind of am now. So that's been keeping me very busy. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to sell it, but now I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm not convinced I'm going to do that, but if anybody's interested, maybe just send me an email and we can work something out just between ourselves.
So what's the stumbling block? Is it just teething problems or part supply problem?
It's actually working. I'm going to say it's working about 99%. My current issue is when you turn the TRS-80 off and back on, you get a couple of null bytes, and that's kind of bothering me. And
I don't think that's actually going to bother that many people.
Well,
because it's not got paper, so whether it
yeah, I get, maybe I'm a perfectionist, but it got me thinking, on a real printer, how does that work when you turn a machine off or on?
I was thinking about that. Did you put a pull up on the data transfer line? I mean,
yeah,
you did.
I did try that, but I'm starting to think that maybe printers just ignore like a null byte. Is that possible?
Plug a printer in and send a null byte to it and see what it does.
Yeah,
you mean like a 00?
Yeah.
Yeah, they ignore it. It doesn't mean anything.
So my app, I'll show you a picture here in a second, but my app actually has like a hex view. So I hated to just drop the hex zeros, but I think I might. So I don't know. That's kind of my current stumbling point. And the other thing is, I was just a little worried that maybe, I'm not like a electronics engineer, so I just am half worried that maybe I'm going to hurt somebody's printer port, and I don't really want to be responsible for that. So it might just be a device for myself. And like I said, if somebody's interested and they want to give it a shot, maybe just let me know. But
well, Kyle, we do have some pretty good electrical engineers here. I'm sure if you shared it with them, they'd critique it and help you out with that. No problem.
Yeah, I don't know if my psyche could take that, because the critique would be brutal, I'm sure.
No.
Or maybe look at it from this angle. If you give it to someone with a logic analyzer, at least they can see if it has the potential to damage the printer port, because that would be pretty easy to work out, and then that will set your mind at ease with regards to that aspect.
Yeah, that'd be nice if somebody wanted to volunteer to take a peek. I'm pretty sure that it's fine. It's just a printer port. How much trouble can you get in? But just in the back of my mind, I don't want to wreck somebody's machine.
Cool.
So let me show you this screenshot if I can. Oh my gosh, open system preferences. Let's see here. Oh, I can't because I got to quit and reopen. Well, let me try it. Stand by.
That screen recording setting.
Kyle.
I think he said he had to reconnect.
Oh, okay.
In a
All
second.
right. In the meantime, until he comes back, let's see. Patrick.
Patrick doesn't have a mic or camera.
Okay, he's just viewing. That's fine. Hey, Jay, what have you been up to?
Not much. I got just a couple of questions. I got one of these little boards. I guess somebody out there has seen them. It's the little video composite board, and he has a list of but he has a list of monitors, and I can't seem to find it. Does anybody know what monitors we could use, or besides the ones he listed? Does anybody have one that they'd like to get rid of, or know where we can get one?
That's the analog board?
Yeah, that little blueprint.
Yeah.
It's
Get
a nice
yourself-
little board, but I can't use it because I got no monitor to put it on.
Get yourself the video scaler off of eBay for $25, and you'll
Oh,
be
is
able
that-
to use any monitor.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Also, does anybody out there have a 4P disk drive cable that they're not using?
I have, but it'll take 6 weeks to arrive.
That's all right, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
drop me a
Patrick
line
might
if you
make
can
you
find one.
I mean, I can make one, but I forgot the pinouts on the connector that goes to the motherboard because I don't have a motherboard. So if I get that backwards, I'm afraid I'm going to screw up.
No worries, Jay. Drop me a line.
All right. And Ian, I got another question for you. You posted an article, I think, in one of the TRS 8-bit magazines about using 80-track drives and how to make bootable disk from it. Do you remember that article?
It was about 8 years ago now, but vaguely.
If you can find out which TRS 8 issue that's in, I'd appreciate it.
The technique is a little bit convoluted in that the way you do it is you have a regular disk drive in your in drive 0, and then as drive 1 you have your 80-track drive. You then copy the operating system in a manner that creates an 80-track disk, and then once that's created, you disconnect the drive 0, which is a 40-track drive, plug in the 80-track drive, and if everything has worked as it should, then it'll boot off that disk you've created. But that's the method I use, and so I'll look up the article for you. It was a long time ago. It was probably part of the Building the Super Micro series that I did back in 2012.
That's what I thought it was. Okay, I'll look there. And
I'm
then
building
one other
another
thing
Super Micro, by the way.
Yeah, okay. And then one other thing I've just let everybody know is Patrick's making some really nice videos of his paint, and he's using a Model 3 case that I sent him that really was a mess. And I watched the first one, and it's really nice. So if anybody wants to see it, watch it. It's fun to watch. So that's about it.
Cool. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Kyle, you're back. You ready to go?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry about that. Wow, what a disaster that was. Okay, so let me try to share the screen and at least just show the... Can you see that?
Yeah.
We can.
Yep.
This is a simple board, little microcontroller. You plug it into your printer, and then the output is through your local Wi-Fi at your house, so you can view the output with any browser or your phone or a tablet, whatever you got. And then this is the screen. If you can see that. You can view the output in hex or ASCII. Has wrapping, line wrapping, different paper colors. The printer has a little buffer, 32K buffer, so you can reload the screen and clear it out, that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty basic device, but I thought it might be kind of neat to have a printer without actually having to deal with the headaches that a printer provides.
Mhm.
You know, I like the idea of a printer, but when I actually use one, it just is so frustrating. I can't even stand it. So this was my answer to that problem.
That's really cool.
It really is cool, Kyle. I hope you do finish
Yeah.
it. I know that last, like I said with my game, that last 10% or 5% is the hardest part to get through, but
Yeah.
I think it's really a positive for the community. I would love to have this product.
Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
I
Boy,
get one.
It's nice to
Send
hear.
money, right?
Oh,
And I have a new Key 80 and it works great, Kyle.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's another fun product. You know, these are both things that I kind of just made for myself. And I'll tell you that new Key 80, I can't use the regular TRS-80 keyboard anymore. It's like that printer thing. I really like the idea of the original keyboard, but once you use a modern layout on a good keyboard, it makes all the difference in the world. I just love it, but I know there's, some
no,
people
it's
just want
nice.
that vintage feel, but boy, it's hard to give it up.
I like the new Key 80 because at least I don't have to worry about if the TRS-80 I'm about to start repairing has so many dead keys I can't do anything with it. So I just automatically plug that in when I'm working on one, and then I'll come back to the keyboard later.
Yep, for sure.
Keyboard itself is easy to fix, but tedious, very tedious.
When the enter
Okay,
key
thanks.
doesn't work, that's when it's tough.
Kyle,
Yeah,
what,
or
Kyle,
the
what was
break.
the
Yeah.
difference between the red board and the old one you had?
Just a different color. I
Oh,
call it the All-American version, but it's just a different color PCB.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Arno. Welcome.
Hey guys, well, not much to report. I
Okay,
have-
thanks, Arno. Thanks for
just maybe hold it up in the camera. That's the new version of Pocket Tris. So I think last time I had just a picture of it, but here's the new version.
Your background.
It has the first version had the ESP in the center of the PCB, and if you have a lot of Wi-Fi's in your apartment or where you live, then some people had some connectivity problems. So this one now has what also Espressif recommends, the ESP on the side. So it's just a new version. I'm just having some fun with software. Kyle offered his help to create a splash screen for Pocket Tris. And I've been contemplating on adding Model 4 support so that Pocket Tris can also simulate Model 4, but that's just an idea at this point.
It's using the same chip that the older one is using, correct?
Yes.
The Rover, is it? Is it the Rover? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's the same chip, it just moved to the side of the PCB to give it better Wi-Fi access. Yeah. Short and sweet.
I've run into an issue where it has to do with disk emulation. I guess some of the hard disk images that I had, anytime I would do a DIR, as soon as it got past, I think, the last hard disk partition, then it would switch over to floppy drives, and then it would lock up. And I was wondering, are you aware of that? And it's easy enough to fix. All you have to do is the system drive, 5 comma disable, and you can get around that problem. So it's not like it's a big deal or anything, but will it support disk images?
It's not a problem of Pocket Tris. It is also what would happen on a real machine if you don't have a floppy drive. So yeah, you do need to type in these commands to deactivate the floppy. Otherwise, the operating system will try to read and get caught in an endless loop. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah, LDOS and Tristos 6 and everything isn't. While it was developed, it was never considered to be able to run on a computer that physically doesn't have a floppy controller in there. So when your computers run off a Fred or Arno's Tris device, doesn't get any response from the floppy controller when it goes to query the floppy controller, so it just locks up. So I've noticed that when people hook a Fred up to a diskless Model 4, it works great until they try to access a non-existent disk drive, and then it appears to crash, but it's just gone into a loop, and they all do it. So, and you already basically answered your own question, which is disable the drive and you're good to go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure where the issue lied. Matt tried to explain it to me, but I think I was being a little dense.
We all have those days. Okay. Thanks for that, Arno. Anyone else got anything, or I'll just keep going around the table? Eric Dittman.
Nothing really new going on. We thought
You
out.
got your electricity back after 48 hours. I hear that was.
We were lucky. We had like an hour to an hour and a half of electricity every 6 hours or so. So just enough to get the heat up a little bit before it cooled down again. So the temperatures never got below the mid 40s inside the house.
Strange times.
Yeah. And no burst pipes or anything.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
For those who don't realize, Eric's from Texas, and where they had all that 48-hour power issue. So yeah, what have you been working on, Eric? Nothing really, or just hanging around for the next Trash Talk Live?
Just hanging around, yeah.
Cool. All right, thanks for that. Let's see. Matt London.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
No, I've been playing with Flash Floppy OSD. So I don't know. I guess everyone's got to be familiar with Gotex, right? The cheap and dirty little floppy emulators that you can get.
Sure.
They're super cheap. You can flash them with an open source firmware called Flash Floppy, and they work great. There's a little add-on that you can build that just uses a blue pill, which is a ESP. No, it's not an ESP. It's an STM32 based micro on a little board. There's a firmware called Flash Floppy on-screen display that will connect up to the I2C bus that is driving the LCD or the OLED display that's on the Gotek, and you connect it up to H-Sync and V-Sync lines from a video controller, and it'll generate a video output to overlay what would normally be on the OLED display, and it will overlay that onto the video signal. So I was tinkering with my 4P, and I thought, well, hold on, the video board for this exposes the H-Sync and V-Sync, and it's got a raw video input that just drives the CRT. This should work. So I fiddled with it a bit, and I looked at the signals, and with the exception that H-Sync and V-Sync have opposite polarities, which confuses FFOSD. It expects them to either be both positive active or negative active, which is easy to fix. Just stick an inverter on one of the signals, and it works. So I've got, if I point this, actually just move this. Let's do that. See if that'll point at the screen. If I fire that up, so I've got a Gotek temporarily mounted. It's a bit quick and dirty, but it'll pop up. So whatever's on the little OLED display here, which is currently blank, if I press one of the keys, it'll overlay that then on the video screen. If I move that and point it so you can see what's going on, if I hit reset, so you can see there it's showing, essentially it mirrors up on the screen whatever's on the OLED display that's on the Gotek.
Cool. Okay.
So yeah, that's been all right. You don't like that.
1987.
So yeah, it'll just pop up. So it shows you the disk image, it shows you the track number. I can flip through disks. And
Sweet. That's pretty cool, actually. I got to admit, did that take a lot of work, or is it actually pretty straightforward?
no, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it was designed so where the folk who did the firmware originally were targeting the Amiga, which conveniently is over there. But they targeted the Amiga first, and then they looked at some other platforms. I think they tested it on the Spectrum Plus 3 and the Amstrad CPC. But they basically say in the instructions, look, this should work for anything that's got an RGB video signal. And they just tap the output. They just say, stick the output from the OSD device onto one of the video output lines. So if you want your OSD to be green, you just stick it on the green line. And you just connect it with like a 220 ohm resistor, the output from that to the video line. So I ended up just tacking that in. I think I used a slightly larger resistor, and I tacked it in after there's an input resistor on the video board. So I just tacked it in after that, just so I'm not forcibly pulling down the output from the main board down to 0 volts when it's trying to do a black overlay, because you can see it picks a box around where it's going to display and dims it so that you can see the text if you've got a white screen. But yeah, it ended up being pretty simple. I'm going to write it up and stick it up on my blog. But like everything else in life, I'm very bad at updating blog posts. So it'll get written up eventually, hopefully within the next week or two.
Oh, I think it's really interesting, and actually, if you wanted to go into a permanent journal somewhere, I'm sure we could fit it into TRS 8-bit, couldn't we, Dusty? If you can write it up in the next 6 days.
Yeah,
or so.
I'm hoping to publish this coming weekend, sort of Saturday or Sunday, all being well. I'm waiting for a contribution from a certain gentleman.
Yeah, where? Yeah, so no pressure, Matt. But
yeah, I don't know about that, but for the next issue, maybe. Yeah, I can. Like I said, I hope to get it written up somewhere. So once I've written it up once, then yeah, the text is there. It can just be tweaked.
That's great. All right,
Awesome
thanks
work.
for that, mate. Rob Carnegie, what you been working on?
Well, I'm almost embarrassed to admit what I've been working on because everybody's doing such cool things, and then I'm here with a TRS-80 and trying to get things onto it from a cassette tape player, and I just haven't had any success. But I kind of tried getting this sorted out back when I got the machine a couple of years ago, and then put it on the back bench until I found a better cassette player. I think I've got one that's consistent with the type that a TRS-80 would have had back in the day, but I'm just not getting a recording that it can detect when I try to load it back again. And if I play the tape and just through the speaker, it seems almost as though the audio was nice and loud right at the beginning of the recording, and then it suddenly goes quiet. And it makes me think possibly that this tape deck has some kind of a record level automation or something like that. It doesn't say it does on here anywhere, and I couldn't find anything in the instructions that mentioned it, but it just seems like it's mysteriously lowering the volume shortly into the recording. So
try the tape on a normal domestic hi-fi stereo and see if the volume changes. Some Radio Shack tapes I've had.
Yeah, it's the same when the only other cassette player I have is a Radio Shack home stereo component one, but it's the same audio result. It starts out nice and loud, and then it goes to this almost dampened or filtered kind of a sound. So I think it's the cassette recorders doing that. I actually tried using, there's a auxiliary input on here, thinking that possibly that would bypass that effect. And the record level on the auxiliary input was so low that I wasn't surprised that it couldn't read that back, because you could hear it, but just barely. You know, again, I don't know if it's just that I haven't found a cassette player from the right period or what. They're becoming pretty elusive. You know, I've got this one at like Value Village thrift store chain, and only after a lot of looking, and I haven't seen another one since that was, you know, the sort of thing that you would find next to a home computer. I actually used cassette player as my only storage for the first computer I ever owned, an Apple II, because they didn't have the floppy drive available when I first got it, and found it to be fairly reliable. Unfortunately, that cassette drive, the belts turned to dust a long time ago, and so I don't have it as an option, but I don't really see much difference between this and the Panasonic that I used to use back in the day. But the only thing I can think is possibly there's some circuitry that and it's, you know, got the little condenser microphone built into the top, and so did the Panasonic. But I don't know whether this has some circuitry in it that is so commonplace that it's just in there doing it without saying anything.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe send me an email after this, and we'll work on trying to work out whether it's the cassette player or the computer giving a problem, and we'll take it from there. I mean, the cassette player I mainly use is Radio Shack CCR81, but even for problem tapes that a CCR won't use, I've got an old tape deck. It's not around here at the moment, but it's bigger, but it's a Black Marantz one, and they have adjustments for just about every little, you know, tone and voice type reproduction, so you can sort of get just about any signal to a level that the computer will be able to understand. But those tape decks are really old now, and they don't come up very often for sale. If you've ever seen one, it looks like a big black book, but it has Marantz written on it.
Okay. Yeah,
it's nothing to do with the interrupt problem with cassettes that usually appears, is it?
Not for Rob, because that only appears once you add an expansion interface.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of times there's a slide switch on those I've seen in the past, and it's labeled AGC, automatic gain control. You hit it right on the money. Sometimes I've seen them hidden underneath batteries. So you might want to pull open your battery thing, but I've seen them with slide switches, and they'll be labeled AGC on or off. And that does the control. But look around, see if you see a slide switch or something on it, or something labeled AGC.
Yeah.
What is that one, Rob? Is it a 57 or a 37 or a...
Actually, what's the model number? Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, this is a CTR 66.
All right.
So I think
Feature...
it's probably
Go on.
a little. It doesn't have numbers on the volume control.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was designed with a computer in mind, because the absence of that makes it a little bit of a guessing game in terms of the volume level. But I was, you know, familiar with the volume level. It worked on an Apple II, so I have used cassette, you know, probably way more than most people would want to admit, you know, successfully in the past with a different brand of computer. So this seems to be, you know, working in the way that I'd expect it to work, but just not producing quite the correct volume. I also tried a program that's available for MS-DOS that allows you to play .cas files out through the sound card. And I wasn't successful in getting it to read from that either. I tried messing with the volume levels and so forth with the program. And I guess the next thing I was going to try doing is converting some of the .cas files over to .wave files. I understand there's a program out there for doing that, and then putting them onto an iPhone or an MP3 player of some sort to see if I could get that to work.
Are you sure the Model 1's okay?
Well, it's the only I have never owned a Model 1 back in the day, so it's the only one I have. I don't have anything to compare it with. I actually bought it, I guess, around 2016 or 17. You know, I guess I assume it works because everything else seems to work. But if you can suggest anything that I can look at to see whether or not there's something going on in there that's preventing it from working properly.
Yeah, there's a note on the catalog. It does say auto level and queue control.
Okay.
So you might have hit it right on the money, and if you can't turn it off, then that could be your problem.
Yeah.
Rob, you could try testing with your mobile phone, playing a wave file.
Yeah, I just have to this thing that converts from .cas to .wave files. I couldn't find any online to download, so I have to dig up a DOS machine that I can set up to try converting some of the files over. I was surprised that there wasn't any online because there's tons of .cas files available to download, but nobody's put them up in a wave format. At least none that I've.
Doesn't Lawrence Lawrence's tools deal with that?
Pardon me?
Lawrence's tools should be able to handle that for you.
A playcast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Wave files are huge and they don't compress well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, get in contact with me and we'll work out a solution one way or another.
But somehow or another, you guys have given me the bug because I went out eBay and went a little crazy and bought myself one of these and paid kind of a shockingly high price for it. But I couldn't resist because it's literally untouched by human hands inside. Looks
like MC10 still in its little plastic bag as well.
Yeah, and they you know how when you buy one of these things, the wires are wound up in a way that you can never reproduce once you've taken them apart.
Yeah.
So the wires are underneath, and you know they're all in there in you know kind of a pre-used way. So it just really thought, well, this way at least I'm getting close to the same experience you would get starting out from new. I haven't tested it yet because I have this superstition about testing a machine until I actually have the time to fix whatever's wrong with it. It turns out there is something wrong with it. So, so until I tested it, I can fool myself into thinking it's not broken.
Those are pretty robust, those things. Having said that, no one who bought one used them for any length of time, so so they never got worked to death. I was actually out this morning picking up some rescuing some cocoa gear from a gentleman over the other side of town. Had to race back to get here in time for this, and the two cocoa ones I got off him looked terrible. They look like they've got dirt on them, and all the paint's been scratched and rubbed away and everything. But I have a pretty good feeling they'll probably run because they're pretty robust. The cocoa machines, there's not much that goes wrong with them. So I dare say that you're probably gonna. I would say as high as 99.9% chance that MC10 is going to run.
Cocoa's as durable as heck.
Yeah, and 99.9% that you'll think that what do I spend my money on this for?
Well, I had happily forgotten those, and then George brought one to one of the events in Vancouver. When I saw it, I remembered playing with one in a Radio Shack store back in the day when they first came out, and that was it. After that, I kind of had it in my head, and then participating in the last Trash Talk made me think, yeah, I got to get myself one of those things. So My wife hasn't seen the credit card bill yet, so you know, you might not see me again after this.
Maybe you'll be lucky and she'll banish you to your workshop. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for joining us again, Rob. Blair.
Yeah, hello. Just a couple of shout outs. First off to you, Mav, and to Pete, and Aaron and Eric and George. You guys all hosted the last Trash Talk episode, and I just wanted to say it was an excellent episode. Really enjoyed it. And the other shout out, Ira's been posting some brand new updated versions of Vernon Hester's DOSes. I just think it's just cool as heck that here it is 2021 and we're getting brand new releases of multi-DOS and esoteric. Who else besides Vernon is still actively writing or updating operating systems for our community?
So I was actually hoping Vernon would join us today, but for whatever reason that didn't eventuate. But you know, there'll always be another one of these in a month's time, so we'll try and get him on then.
Yeah, right. Yeah, be nice to give him a nice pat on the back in person. But yeah, just really really tremendous, and the documentation that he produces, very thorough. You know, all the information that a programmer would need to write assembly language programs for his operating systems. It's just terrific.
Yeah, top-notch products always from Vernon. I have to admit that. Yeah. So cool. Thanks, Blair. Joel Hilliard.
Joel.
You're muted.
Sorry,
bro.
trying to find the mute button there.
Oh,
just repairing, breathing life into machines. Still working on these 2000s. There's quite a bit of work that goes into them. They're probably about as picky as the 6000 are. Yeah, basically don't move it once you get it working, essentially.
I've been seeing you've been doing a few posts about the 2000, so it sounds like you're really gone, dived into that cesspool of.
It seemed to have found me.
Semi-MS stuff.
It's weird. You pick a machine and like all of a sudden one comes up, and then you're like, man, I'll never find a good deal like this. And then 3 more deals pop up like a couple weeks later. It's like, what in the world? It's like when it rains, it pours almost, I guess. So I have another one on the way today that I just found. And it's fully loaded, so should be nice to add to the pile going on here. But yeah, hopefully to get them done and get back on the 6000 because it needs my attention bad, and I'm excited to get back to it as well.
Hey Joel,
like I always say, someone has to be the world authority on these on everything. So I can think of worse things than the 2000 to be the world's go-to person.
I'm definitely learning a lot of stuff.
Like
on it, yeah.
Hi, Joel.
Joel, you posted an interesting, where was it, on Facebook? Interesting post about a Trish Zenek's historical retrospective project. What was that? What is that all about?
Yeah, I really want to dive into it and get a bit on the history of where Xenix came from, how it came to be, and it's pretty popular, especially with the Tandy Model 16, Model 2 16 line. It apparently that's like was the most popular OS at one point, and so yeah, just really want to dive into it and then see how it works. If I'm successful with it, I'd like to take it to other operating systems as well for the Tandys and TRS-80s, and if I could venture out of it there. But the Tandys and TRS-80s seem to be it for me. I have other vintage computers, but none of them have the charm, charisma, or anything that you get working on these things, opening them up, playing with them.
Consistent unreliability.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, because
What's a computer that works?
Right,
it's no fun.
Well,
they're just special.
I would say my Win 7 box is also a computer that doesn't work half the time. So
I'm still waiting on a FedEx order for my other project here that some of you might be interested in. I've tried to accumulate a bunch of the newer hardware for the Model 4, Model 3 line stuff. And so I'm essentially using, some of you have seen that processor that has the blinky lights and stuff on it. So I'm building out around that motherboard into a clear case, but I'm still waiting on the case. I think it was in a semi truck that might have slid off the road during this ice storm, and nobody just wants to tell me that it's gone. So FedEx
Still
has not
buried.
promised a delivery date. I don't see when it's coming. I called and they said it was in Texas 2 days ago, but it's not. So whenever it gets here, I'll be able to start and finish putting that together, or start putting it together so I can finish putting it. Yeah. So all the pieces are just sitting up here in a tray ready to go. I just really want to build it out. It should be cool. It should have VGA composite out so I can actually capture and use at the same time. It's using the new Key 80. It'll have the graphics expansion if I can get that to work, and figure out how to work around that. And then, of course, the Fred for HD storage. So yeah, should be a fun little build to use, and it should look pretty good.
Cool.
Bunch
Is
of
that
LEDs.
Mrs. Hilliard that's joined us there, Joel?
That's my daughter. She's
Okay.
poking around, trying to look.
Miss
see what's going
Hilliard. Hey, thanks for that, Joel. Good on you, mate.
Yeah.
David Lightman. Howdy.
Hey, I don't really have anything new. We had a baby beginning of January, so all my
So you
time.
haven't slept since the beginning of January.
Yes, definitely. I haven't slept. So all my time's been kind of taken up. I did get a small amount of time to put together one of Ken's keyboard adapters for the big Tandies. This guy right here, it works well. And I also put together one of Ken's new XMMU. Oh wow, it disappeared there, huh? For the 6000, it works as well, but I really haven't had time to do much.
I have you muted.
Have you with us anyway, David? You've been able to take the time out to join us, so keep up the good work, brother.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I have a 3-year-old too, and it's only been 3 years, and I really forgot how much fun it is having a month or 2 old baby. It's yeah.
But 2 kids is more than double the work. It's like triple the work.
Sure.
You're gonna find that.
Oh, it's so long ago, I can't remember any of it. So
I was going to say, but 3 and 4, it's no problem.
Good on you, David. The rest of the people that I haven't deferred to yet don't have any video, so I don't know if they're live. How about Corey?
Hey, how's everyone going?
Good, thanks, Corey. First time tuning in?
Well, this is the second one I've been listening into. I've been mainly kind of a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I cut my teeth on a Model 1 way back. It was my father's. He was really big into, he upgraded the RAM, added 10 key, internal speaker, that kind of stuff. So I have kind of a soft spot for the old TRS-80s. In fact, I actually have some equipment that's currently boxed up kind of in the closet. I got to find time to find a place to get it all unpacked and put out, because he, through the 80s, I forget the course of events, but the hardware went away, with the exception of, funny thing is, we still have the old desk, the old computer desk that was meant for the Model 1, I guess, where the expansion interface would slide in.
I know the one. It's one of the hardest things to find in good condition these days, actually. I hope yours is in good nick.
Yeah, it's over at my mom's. But anyway, lost track of the hardware, and then when he retired, he started acquiring things on eBay, and he has since passed, so I've acquired it. Been wanting to get into it, just haven't, like with everyone, time, right? But I really
the equipment there for when you're ready.
Yeah, exactly. But I really appreciate the community. I mean, warm welcomes, and I'm just impressed by some of the stuff you guys can do. I just wish I had that kind of skill.
Oh, well, we all have our own specialities, so yeah. Thanks, Corey. Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
Walter. Hi.
Howdy. Not too busy with too much stuff. I just recently got the Pocket TRS, which has been a lot of fun. I've basically had it on since I got it like a week ago. So it's always on. So I'm either checking out different games or just messing around with stuff, trying to get used to the different DOSes and things like that. And I also got a TRS-IO for the Model 1, which I'm in the process of building. I've got all my parts. I'm just waiting for the ESP32 Vroom, I think that one uses. I have the 18-pin one, but the board uses the 38-pin one. Sorry, I have the 30-pin one. It uses the 38-pin one. So I've got a couple of those on order, so they should be arriving. And then I also ordered a bare board for the TRS-IO for the Model 3 and 4 to mess around with, and it does actually use the 30-pin ESP. And I also have a is it the Chrome TRS or is it the TRS Chrome board? I can't remember what it's called.
Chroma TRS, I think, is how it was pronounced, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it since I make them.
Yeah. So yeah, I got the board from you, and I received my 5-volt RAM, so I can run it off of 5 volts. And now I'm basically just collecting parts for it, and then I'll get that built. And then I want to try that with the Pocket TRS to see if they'll run together. I suspect they should, but yeah, that'll actually be a neat project.
It will.
That's about it.
Cool. Thanks, Walter.
Hey, Ian, real quick, Alan Schember just sent a message. He has no video or mic, and he wants to know if anybody has a TRS-IO board for sale.
Anyone?
Matt Boyton might?
Does he want an assembled one, or I've got extra bare boards?
All right, you might
bare board would be fine.
You can reach out to me and I can build him one if you.
Yeah, I think I have enough parts to put. I bought parts and stuff. I think I've got everything to do it. I just haven't assembled yet. So.
Yeah, Al, get in touch with Paul.
Okay.
And also, this goes to Matt. Matt, Patrick wants to know if you can put up your blog on chat.
Matt London.
Yeah, I can. I'll warn you, it's not had any posts lately, and I haven't posted anything since I actually got a TRS-80, because my Model 1 stayed in the UK when I moved 2004, and the blog isn't that old. But no, yeah, I'll put a link in chat so you can see.
Thanks, guys. Aaron, how's Newcastle?
Warmish.
Warmish?
Warmish for, the last day of summer, supposedly. So
yeah, it is the last day of summer here in this fair land, isn't it?
Yes. I was supposed to be going down to the Gosford Field Day today, but they've shifted that off to a couple of months or 3 months further down the track. So normally with a Gosford Field Day, it's either stinking hot or pouring rain. So yeah,
probably going to be the latter. Okay.
Yeah, and it would have been there would have been the best chance, I think, to find Dick Smith there. I don't know whether he'll come in May, but anyway.
Well, we'll see. I'm sure you'll keep us up to date anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'll try.
Cool.
Yeah, so there's not much really going on here. There's a few boards and a few things that I've managed to come across. There's still stuff doing with ArcNet, but we'll wait and see. Yeah, so it's all good. There's a lot of going behind the scenes as far as the DOSes are concerned to work out a whole heap of stuff. To do with the Model 2, of course. So that's basically it for me. And yeah, I didn't have such a hot night last night, which is why I was late to the broadcast. So sorry about that.
Better late than never is what I say.
Well, yeah.
Still searching for the elusive TRS-DOS 1.1, Aaron? Sorry, say again? The elusive TRS-DOS 1.1. Any luck?
Yes. I well, there's there's further little leads, but nothing really conclusive. There's still, as you know, there's still quite a lot of stuff that I've picked up on what it could be in it. The manual, the TRS-DOS 1.1 manual, was interesting, but of course it didn't give me the software, and I think the other software went with the other auction. I think the person's packaged it up wrongly, but one day it'll come.
We were
It'll
talking
turn
the
up
other day, about that flaw in TRS-DOS 1.1, the video flaw, which could cause the the halt and catch fire.
Okay. Yeah. There was a problem, I believe, in the one of the video processing services that would turn the video off when it switched between 80 and 40 characters, but wouldn't switch it back on. And that was part of the independent between the DOS and the Microsoft Level 3 Basic for Model 2. So they fixed that up apparently in TRS-DOS 1.12, and then eventually fixed up the one in Microsoft Basic when they completely redid it in TRS-DOS 1.2. But that would be the main reason. I mean, I know the sequence of commands of what you've got to do to cause it to go. So you can still have that thing at TA with the exploding.
I don't want to do it at TA. That'd be a liability. I want to do it in my driveway now.
I don't know. I think there's value in setting the fire
As long as you
extinguishers.
video it.
I'm good. One of my old beater Model 2s. I'm going to test the halt and catch fire.
See how long it actually takes.
See if it actually does.
Well, if anyone's going to achieve that, Peter, it's going to be you.
Yeah, I'm going to try.
All right. Thanks for that, Aaron. I think that's everyone except for Chris Fowler. You got audio, Chris?
Yeah. Hi, guys. First time here. Thanks to Pete for inviting me through the VCF list. I found out about, I got back into vintage computers about 5 or 6 years ago when I discovered VCF, which used to be March. And back in the day, I taught myself BASIC on a Model 1, I think in like 8th grade, and haven't really done much since then. But in recent years, I picked up a couple of Model 1s, a couple of Model 3s, a couple of Cocos, and I think a couple of Model 100s. So they're in storage right now. One of these days, I'll get time to actually work on them. But it's really great to see the community so active and all the great projects you guys are working on. And I hope to start doing some stuff soon.
That's great. Good. Okay. Oh, well, that brings us up nearly to the end of the show, I think. We're coming up on 2 hours. Anyone got any closing comments they want to make? Yes, Dusty wants the final word.
Just a quickie. Was there ever a version of the PIC operating system for a Tandy machine, any Tandy machine?
Not that I know of. Programmers?
There may have been one for the Model 2. I know they did Oasis and quite a few other things with the Model 2. I mean, TurboDOS is another one that may or may not have. I think Eric's your person there. But yeah, apart from that, not sure.
Okay. I draw a complete blank on that one. Thanks, Dusty. All right. If no one has anything else to say, then I'm going to wrap this thing up. All right. Thanks for everyone for joining us. We'll be back in about a month's time with number 13, Lucky 13. And please keep working on your projects, and we'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Hi, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, Kyle.
Hi, everybody.
Bye, Arno.
Let's see you next month, I guess. I think it's good that you do this on a monthly basis. You know, this is for the community, especially without any assembly last year, is a good thing. And you know, like someone asked earlier, you should try to find a way to also incorporate a virtual component in attendee assembly, assuming that we can do it. So
well, I'd be you know, all for that, because it looks clearly like I'm not going to be able to make it this year. So I know that at the first one in 2017, there was a continuous online feed of the show for the hours that it operated. So even something along those lines would be a good thing.
Yep, this would be the year to do it if we do it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
See
See you
guys
next
soon.
time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.